My name is Marte, and I'm a health and rights activist from the Philippines. I currently head a regional civil society network called APCASO, and in 2016, I and my organization helped form a regional TB activist coalition called ACT Asia Pacific. In 2018, I needed to start seeing doctors because of persistent bouts of coughing and difficulty breathing, and I was diagnosed with asthma and prescribed asthma medications. In that same year, I needed to keep coming back to the hospital because of the still persistent coughing, and I was told that on top of asthma, probably I also had allergies that triggered my coughing. I got tested inexpensively for all kinds or for many kinds of allergies. But to this day, if I indeed do have allergies and what kind of allergies I have remain a mystery. Nonetheless, I was prescribed with anti-allergy medications. Early this year, I needed to get myself checked again by the doctors because of more persistent coughing and also this time fever and joint pains. In my head, I was guessing, was I having more asthma attacks? Were my allergies getting triggered? Could it be TB? Something which I've kept on asking my doctors to get me checked for. But they kept on dismissing. Could it be COVID-19? I told my doctors I travel a lot because of my work. I also attend a lot of meetings where the people I meet also travel a lot. And I also interact a lot with communities that are vulnerable to TB. But my doctors always believe they knew more than I do. I was never tested for TB or COVID-19 even if a thick nodular lesion was found in one of my lungs in February. I continued to be diagnosed with asthma and allergies until about 3 months ago this year when my doctor relented to considering the possibility of another lung disease when the lesion in my lung wasn't getting smaller despite of months of asthma medication. I was asked to undergo blood testing again, and the results according to my doctor confirms that I have TB on top of the asthma and allergies. I was given the choice of starting right away on a course of TB drugs, Rifafor. I asked if my TB was latent or active and was told it was something in between. And all this was happening at a swanky, supposedly 5-star hospital in a developing Asian country. Because I am privileged to be working in a field where I have friends or friends of friends who are TB experts and or slash TB survivors themselves, I was able to get advice before deciding to take on the prescribed TB medication. I was advised to ask first for drug susceptibility and for gene expert testing. I did, and my doctor acted offended, indignant, and aggressively condescending. Long story short, in the end, it was found out that my lung lesion was at least 2 years old and was indeed from TB. But my body self-healed at some point for some reason. Up to now, I still do not know exactly what to make out of that eventual diagnosis. But I am thankful that I got saved from needing to take unnecessary TB drugs prescribed to me. I also know that despite of all the hoo-ha, I am lucky and privileged. When I was sick or getting health checks, I could easily take paid leaves. Most of my expenses were covered by our office health insurance. I had my colleagues at the office and around the world helping me with hospital staff, with information, and connecting me with their own doctor colleagues. My partner, family members, and friends showed me nothing but love, support, and concern. I had no issues in forming close contacts. It did not even enter my mind that I would face stigma from any of them. I am privileged, and yet in the midst of my original diagnosis of active TB, I still couldn't escape some thoughts from running in my head. Oh no, many of my loved ones are immunocompromised. Who could I have unknowingly infected? Oh no, what would this mean for my visa renewal? In fact, I kept on asking my doctor if their government will be notified of my positive TB diagnosis. In the country where I work, TB infection is a basis for denying of visa application and renewals, and I needed that visa to continue to work where I work. Another question, what happens if my landlady finds out about my TB diagnosis? With regards to my asthma, I consider it an annoyance mostly. plus something to be fearful of as a factor of vulnerability for COVID-19. But my main concern is what happens when I return to the Philippines and I no longer have access to insurance that covers my expensive medications. I have been an activist most of my adult life. I considered myself an empowered woman. While I am a migrant worker, I have work documentation, unlike millions of other migrants who cannot even go to health centers even if they are feeling health issues for fear that they will be sent back to their countries outside of their will just because they don't have proper work documentation or because of their non-documented migrant status. If I wasn't a privileged person, I would have taken the TB drugs prescribed to me even if they were unnecessary. Side effects and future susceptibility be damned. If I wasn't privileged, the consequences of my lung issues, including the TB diagnosis, would not just be a few days of fear and annoyance. It will be far more heartbreaking and life-altering. And this is why I consider that the greatest privilege of all is actually having opportunities to try to change this world. I hope stories like mine continue reminding the Union and the broader global health community of why we need to keep on doing the work that we do, of why we need to keep on pushing for people-centered and rights-based health responses, of why we need to keep on having platforms for continued dialogues between affected communities and communities of researchers, of doctors, of health professionals, and of donors. Because it should be a matter of rights and not privilege that determine a person's health and life outcomes. And bringing us closer to this vision is what to me should be the measure and of real success and meaning of union in these conferences and in future conferences. Thank you.